What if the solar system's king, the behemoth Jupiter, didn't reign in the cold, dark outer system, but instead held court right here, in the warm, golden glow of the sun's habitable zone? Imagine looking up at the sky and not seeing a bright but distant star-like point of light, but instead a colossal, swirling marble of tan, orange, and white, so vast it seems to swallow the heavens whole. This isn't just a simple shift of address for a gas giant. This is a complete rewrite of our solar system's story, a fundamental alteration of the ingredients that made our Earth, and us, possible. The question isn't just, could life exist on a warm Jupiter? But rather, would the Earth, or any Earth-like planet, even be allowed to exist in such a dominion? The presence of a gas giant in the habitable zone isn't about adding a new planet to the life-friendly club. It's about the gas giant becoming the absolute dictator of that club, dictating every rule of existence, from the formation of planets to the very patterns of life that might emerge under its overwhelming gravitational shadow. This single change unravels everything we know about our cosmic neighborhood, creating a scenario that is both terrifyingly hostile and breathtakingly beautiful. A system where the concept of a day or a year is rendered meaningless on any world caught in its grip, and where the only constant is the magnificent, terrifying gaze of a perpetual god in the sky. To understand the cataclysmic implications, we must first rewind the cosmic clock to 4.5 billion years ago, to the primordial solar nebula, the swirling disk of gas and dust from which our planets were born. In our reality, the frost line, the boundary beyond which volatile compounds like water, methane, and ammonia can condense into ice grains, acted as a sort of cosmic sorting mechanism. Inside the line, only rocky and metallic particles could stick together, leading to the formation of the small, dense terrestrial planets: Mercury, Venus, Earth, and Mars. Outside the line, past the orbit of what would become Mars, ice could solidify, providing a massive amount of extra building material. This is where Jupiter formed, its rocky and icy core rapidly accreting an immense envelope of hydrogen and helium gas, becoming the gravitational titan we know today. Its formation effectively vacuumed up most of the available material in its region, starving the area between it and Mars of planet-building stuff, leaving behind only the asteroid belt. But now, let's change the initial conditions. Let's imagine that the density of the solar nebula was different, or the sun's early properties varied slightly, causing the frost line to be positioned much closer to the sun. In this altered reality, Jupiter's core begins to coalesce not in the outer darkness, but right in the region where, in our timeline, the asteroid belt and the inner planets formed. This is the pivotal moment, the fork in the road that leads to an entirely different solar system. The instant Jupiter's protocore reaches a critical mass, perhaps 10 times that of Earth, it begins its runaway accretion of gas. But now it's doing this in a region of the nebula that is far denser in rocky and metallic material than the outer system was. It's not just eating gas, it's devouring the very stuff that would have become Mercury, Venus, Earth, and Mars. The planetesimals and planetary embryos that were on their way to becoming rocky worlds are now nothing more than fodder for the growing giant, spiraling inward due to gas drag and being mercilessly consumed. This is the first and most critical consequence. The habitable zone is no longer a place for Earths. It is the exclusive domain of a single, gas-dominated world. There are no other terrestrial planets of significant size. Any fledgling world that somehow avoids being eaten is likely hurled by Jupiter's immense gravity on a hyperbolic trajectory out of the solar system entirely, becoming a rogue planet, drifting in the interstellar void. Jupiter's migration, a phenomenon we see in many exoplanetary systems known as hot Jupiters, would also be a likely scenario. As it interacts with the still-present gas disk, it would likely migrate inward, snowplowing any remaining material ahead of it, potentially spiraling dangerously close to the sun before the disk dissipates and its migration halts. Its final resting place in the habitable zone would be the result of a violent, chaotic dance, a dance that leaves the inner system scoured clean of competitors. So, the very first thing we must accept in this thought experiment is that if Jupiter formed in the habitable zone, we would not be here to look at it. Earth, as a concept, would never have formed. The stage is set, but the main actor we care about has been written out of the play before the curtain even rises. The entire architecture of the solar system is inverted. The inner system is dominated by a single gas giant, while the outer but let's say, through some cosmic miracle, a rocky Earth-sized world did manage to form alongside a habitable zone Jupiter. Perhaps it formed as a Trojan world, sharing Jupiter's orbit at a stable Lagrange point 60 degrees ahead or behind it. Or maybe it coalesced on a wider, stable orbit just inside or outside Jupiter's path. This is our entry point into the truly fascinating and terrifying aspects of this scenario. The day-to-day experience of life on a world under the thumb of a gas giant. The first and most obvious change is the sky. Jupiter would not be a planet in the sky, it would be the sky. Depending on its orbital distance from the Sun and the orbit of our hypothetical Earth analog, Jupiter could easily appear 50, 100, or even 150 times larger in the sky than our full moon. We are talking about an object so vast that you could never see its entirety from the surface without turning your head. Its presence would be a permanent, overwhelming horizon-to-horizon panorama of swirling cloud belts, monstrous hurricanes larger than our entire planet, and the hypnotic, slow churn of ammonia crystals and water vapor. The Great Red Spot would be a permanent, terrifying maelstrom in the heavens, a storm so large you could fit 3 Earths inside it, visibly rotating over a period of days. The planet's phase would change from a thin crescent to a magnificent full Jupiter that would cast an incredible amount of light onto the night side of our world. This is Jovian light, not the pure white reflection of our moon, but a dim reddish-brown glow illuminating the landscape in a perpetual eerie twilight. The concept of a moonless night would not exist. The albedo of Jupiter is about 0.5, meaning it reflects about 50% of the sunlight that hits it. Given its immense apparent size, a full Jupiter could easily be 50 to 100 times brighter than our full moon, turning night into a clearly visible, if strangely colored day. The rhythm of life would be dictated by this light. Nocturnal animals would evolve under a permanent reddish glow. Plants might evolve to photosynthesize different wavelengths of light, perhaps taking advantage of the Jovian shifted spectrum. The gravitational effects would be even more profound. Jupiter's tidal force on this nearby world would be monstrous. If our Earth-like planet had any significant oceans, the tides would not be measured in feet, but in miles. The planet itself would likely be tidally locked to Jupiter, not the Sun, meaning one side would permanently face the gas giant, while the other side would forever look away. This creates a world of extreme contrasts. The sub-Jovian hemisphere would be locked in a perpetual, tremorous day, under the glaring eye of its master, subject to extreme volcanism and tectonic activity driven by the constant gravitational kneading. The anti-Jovian hemisphere would experience more normal days and nights from the Sun, but would still be bathed in the dim Jovian light during its night. The terminator line between these two hemispheres would be a place of eternal, violent twilight and unimaginable storms, as the atmosphere tried to equalize the extreme temperature differences between the two sides. The planet's rotation might even be chaotic, its axis jerked around by Jupiter's gravity, leading to unpredictable and extreme seasonal variations on thousand-year timescales. The magnetosphere of Jupiter would also be a dominant factor. Immersed in Jupiter's colossal magnetic field, our planet would likely see its own magnetic field become irrelevant. The auroras would not be gentle curtains of light at the poles. They would be global events, as Jupiter's radiation belts funnel charged particles across the entire surface of the world, bombarding it with intense radiation that would make the surface lethal to life as we know it. Any life that did evolve would have to be subterranean or aquatic, shielded by kilometers of rock or water. So, with all these apocalyptic challenges, the violent formation, the crushing tides, the lethal radiation, is there any conceivable way that life could not only exist, but thrive in such a system? The answer is a fascinating and resounding maybe, but it would be life utterly alien to anything we can imagine. Let's first consider the most promising real estate in this Jupiter-dominated system. Not on a rocky moon, but on Jupiter itself. A Jupiter in the habitable zone is still a gas giant, a world with no solid surface. But its atmospheric conditions would be radically different. Receiving far more solar energy, its cloud tops would be warmer. The complex layers of ammonia, ammonium hydrosulfide, and water clouds would be shifted and altered. Our pale blue dot is a gentle, quiet cradle. A habitable zone dominated by a gas giant is a violent, magnificent, and overwhelming crucible. And the life that emerges from it would be as awe-inspiring and terrifying as the view from its surface.